Good afternoon, and thank you for joining me. Um, now that you've been practicing the first three paragraphs of your Task 2 essays, you need to write the last paragraph, paragraph 4. And there are 4 standard ways to go about writing the last paragraph. Let's begin with what I call a direct summary. It's the most popular way to write a concluding paragraph. It's relatively easy, and it's just a summary of the main ideas in your essay. Okay, now the first thing to do is that you have to write a sentence that starts the paragraph that lets the reader know that you're ending the essay. And this is relatively easy to do. You could begin your fourth and last paragraph with any of the following phrases. You could say in conclusion, you could say in summary, or to sum up, and then write a very brief sentence that restates your opinion. If, for example, your essay is a thesis-led essay, that opinion might be in the first sentence of your essay. For a prompt about the value of government support for early childhood education, your thesis might be, the need for government funding of early childhood education rings true. That would be your thesis statement in paragraph 1, correct? Now you paraphrase this thesis statement in the first sentence of paragraph 4. You could, for instance, write, in conclusion, governments ought to allocate funds to early childhood education. If, on the other hand, your essay is an argument-led essay, that opinion might be in the last sentence of the first paragraph. Although the former position merits discussion, the latter carries greater weight. That was your thesis statement in the first paragraph. Now you paraphrase that idea or that thesis statement. You read your third sentence and put it in new words. Remember your third sentence in paragraph 1. That's the one that you agreed with. Let's look at an example. If the argument-led prompt asks you to discuss cooperation versus competition in the workplace, for example, you might side with cooperation. Cooperation is your latter position, or the third sentence in the first paragraph. And of course, your third sentence would be something like this. On the other hand, many managers believe that workers should be as cooperative as possible. Now, rewrite it as the first sentence of the last paragraph. Your paraphrase might look like this. In summary, workers ought to focus on supporting each other. Finally, if your essay is a problem-solution essay, or if your essay is a two-question essay, write the main idea of the essay in the first sentence. In the essay on students who are aggressive and selfish, you might write, to sum up, teachers can cope with disruptive students in different ways. Or, in the essay on the advent of automobiles and government action to mitigate their effects, you might write, to sum up, though automobiles are a permanent fixture in modern societies, governments can lower their carbon footprint. Before we go on, let's remember something that is quite important. The clock is running. We only have about 40 minutes to write the entire essay. When you reach the last paragraph, when you're just going to start it, and you notice that you have about 8 minutes remaining, then you can write 3 or 4 sentences. But if you only have 5 minutes left, then you can probably only write 2 or 3 sentences. Of course, it all depends on how easy it is for you to write. But yes, please try to write 2 or 3 sentences in the last paragraph. We must always write at least 2 sentences in the last paragraph. In IELTS essays, as far as I'm concerned, it is against the rules to write a paragraph that only has 1 sentence. If your last paragraph only has 1 sentence, the examiner might give you a 6 in the CC box. And trust me, I doubt very seriously if he'll give you an 8 in the CC box if that last paragraph only has 1 sentence. They're looking for a little bit more than just that. So, returning to our topic of writing a direct summary, that was the first topic of this video. After you write the first sentence of your last paragraph, what do? You go up to paragraphs 2 and 3. Those paragraphs have topic sentences, right? And those sentences are short, right? We wrote short sentences for a very good reason. We wanted to make very clear statements. Now it really pays off for us. We can read them and rewrite them in the last paragraph. That's right. Now we paraphrase the ideas in the 2 topic sentences, paragraph 2 and paragraph 3. And here, we actually have 2 options. We can write a sentence for each of those ideas, or we can put both of those ideas in 1 sentence. It really doesn't matter too much as long as what we write is clear and easy to understand. The important point is to paraphrase those ideas in your summary. Once again, in this approach to writing a conclusion, I call it a direct summary, we paraphrase our main ideas in the last paragraph. After that, we write a final sentence. And this is the sentence that's going to end the conclusion. What should we write? Well, if possible, we should make it a short statement that covers a lot of ground. In other words, we want to make a short statement that tells the reader a general truth about our main idea. Therefore, it should be a short statement that comments on the overall importance of our arguments. That is the general idea of writing a concluding paragraph that summarizes our information in a thesis-led essay. But as I said, there are other ways to write the last paragraph of a thesis-led essay. Let's look at an approach that is more powerful. It's a little more difficult, but it's important for you to know how this works. In this case, we take a moment and think about why we have just spent 30 minutes writing 3 paragraphs on a subject. Actually, this idea is related to the idea of that short overall statement at the end of our paragraph for a direct summary. But now, the whole paragraph, all of paragraph 4, is about the importance of our arguments, not just the last sentence. I call this fixing an overarching idea. Overarching means general or all-encompassing. So what do we want to do? Well, we want to ask ourselves some questions. Why did we write our essay? What's really important about this topic? And can the topic make a difference in the way people choose to live? After we think about these ideas for a few seconds, we realize that there is something that we want our readers to remember outside of the main ideas in our topic sentences. There's something bigger at stake. There is an idea that we want the reader to take home and to think about. In this kind of concluding paragraph, we fix a main idea in the mind of the reader. Let me give you one or two examples. Let's think about the essay on boys and girls taking non-academic courses in school. Here's the prompt. In some countries, boys and girls study different non-academic subjects. For example, boys learn carpentry and metalworking, while girls learn cooking and sewing. This separation based on gender is not fair. These subjects should be open to all students, regardless of their sex. To what extent do you agree or disagree? Now, if you think about all students if you think all students should be able to choose these courses as electives, the word elective means not required. Then you could make a general remark about equal rights and why all people need equal access to life's opportunities. And the last paragraph could look like this. However attractive and simple it may be to lock people into gender roles, the fact remains that everyone is unique. School policies should reflect this idea, particularly in an age when such a wide variety of new opportunities exist. Careers in the modern era have little dependence on gender. Therefore, institutions, both public and private, should appreciate the significance of freedom of choice. Here, you make a statement that concerns the main idea of the prompt, but you put it in a context that is wider, that is more significant, and thus more important. When you do this, you encourage the reader to think about the whole topic of gender roles in a different way, not just taking a little course when you're 13 or 14 years old. You think about it in a way that might make a difference in the way people think about life, about their overall attitude toward life. Now let's look at the prompt about university students working full-time for a year. At some universities, students are required to work full-time for 1 year as part of their course requirement. Some people think that this policy is highly advantageous, while others believe that it is entirely unnecessary. Discuss these views and give your own opinion. Suppose that you think that it is a poor idea for students to devote an entire year to work during their academic careers in college. By the way, in American English, we use the word college when we talk about going to a university. So in our concluding paragraph, we might want to write something like this. The ability to immerse oneself in deep thought can be essential in any profession. Laying the foundation of this capacity is one of the more important roles that colleges and universities play in the lives of their students. Through the exercise of discipline and patience, young scholars develop the means to make significant strides throughout their entire lives. Therefore, universities must focus on developing those skills. You can see that the argument in this paragraph is outside the area of college students learning a lot about any particular subject. Instead, the argument is more closely related to intellectual focus throughout life. To be a successful person, the ability to engage in intellectual work in a sustained manner is important. That's the message of the essay. Universities promote that outcome. Okay, and of course, there's another way to write a concluding paragraph that I call make a major concession. This is a very nice way to end a thesis-led essay. You know that you're going to write 2 middle paragraphs that support your thesis statement. But there's a little problem, isn't there? What about the people who do not agree with you? They haven't been heard from. They have not shared their views. What are their thoughts? Why do they disagree with you? Don't they have a right to voice their ideas? Well, in the last paragraph, you can give them a voice, albeit a small one. After all, there really isn't enough room to let them talk for 2 or 3 paragraphs. The IELTS essay just really isn't designed to give people that opportunity. Therefore, give them the space of 2 or 3 sentences. If you do this, then readers will think that you are trying to be fair to and respectful of the opposition, the people who disagree with you. The prompt about non-academic subjects for boys and girls asks you to discuss your ideas on that topic. If you write a thesis-led essay that uses the little big approach, you have not given the opposition an opportunity to speak. This is hardly fair. I'm sure you agree. A concluding paragraph that makes a major concession gives your opponents that opportunity. That paragraph about gender roles could look like this. Admittedly, there are those who disagree with these positions. In the first place, many people strongly believe that there are obvious advantages to dividing skills by traditional gender roles. After all, men and women are often happy to focus on different roles in families and communities. Beyond that, some psychologists argue that men and women have predispositions which make them more suitable for particular activities. Nevertheless, as strong as these counterclaims may be, the thesis cannot be dismantled. Freedom of choice in electives is highly desirable. Well, you can see that this paragraph does a good job of giving space to the opposition. Additionally, the thesis of the essay is the last clause of the concluding paragraph. This is an emphatic way to end your paper. However, the problem is clear. Writing a paragraph like this takes 7 or 8 minutes. Therefore, only writers who want an 8 or 9 in the TR box should make major concessions in the last paragraph. It's a paragraph that takes a little bit of skill. You're putting down very quickly ideas that you haven't developed in the first part of the essay. And it requires you to do a lot of thinking on your feet very quickly to put this last paragraph together. So I only recommend it for people who are fairly confident in their writing skills. Now, another very useful approach to concluding paragraphs is what I call a call to action. This is a request that people do something, that they become advocates for a cause, that they do volunteer work, or perhaps that they write a letter to a newspaper, or that they write letters to politicians. Here's the prompt about the relationship between automobiles and governments. In the modern era, governments are essential modes of transportation. How did this occur? What can governments do to reduce the negative effects of automobiles? Well, I suppose in paragraph 2, you're going to talk about the Industrial Revolution and how the horseless carriage, as we used to call cars, how they became so popular. But you're also probably going to have to talk about governments passing rules and regulations, right? In paragraph 3, to lower the the terrible pollution that automobiles cause. Now, this kind of prompt is particularly suitable for a call to action. Here, you could ask people to write a letter to a government representative. Or, on the other hand, you could ask a newspaper to publish your ideas, to publish your thoughts. After all, you want to enlighten the public. You want people to be aware of something. So your last paragraph could look like this. In view of the fact that the automobile industry plays a vital role in the modern era, it should have a peaceful existence with the planet. Therefore, everyone should contact their local, regional, and national representatives in government to advocate this relationship. Once the automotive industry reduces the adverse effects of their products, they will not only protect the environment, their customers will reward their responsible behavior with higher sales. I think you agree that this can be an effective way to end an essay. Well, thank you very much for spending a little time with me today. I appreciate it very much.